If anyone had told me that a $12,000 generator would be the most controversial thing in Oak Ridge Estates, I'd have laughed them out of my living room. But that was before the ice storm hit Springfield, Missouri, and before the quiet streets of my upscale neighborhood turned into a battleground where the loudest thing wasn't the wind or the falling branches, but the desperate scramble for control. My name's Brian Foster. For the last 3 years, Oak Ridge Estates was supposed to be my calm after the storm. Post-divorce 2-story colonial big finished basement view of the drainage creek, just the kind of place where you start believing in new beginnings. The folks here, mostly the kind who fuss about grass height and mailbox paint, not the ones who get in your business. Or so I thought. Nobody warns you about the kind of power a homeowners association president can crave, or how quickly a little preparation can become ammunition in a neighborhood feud. But when January rolled around and weather folks started throwing words like historic Arctic blast and freezing rain, I knew trouble was coming. I'd grown up in Kansas, so I didn't need to Google what happened when sleet met old power lines, outages spoiled food, and if you weren't ready, a whole lot of misery. 2 summers back, after losing hundreds of bucks worth of groceries and 4 days of work to an outage, I bought the biggest generator I could afford. Had it professionally installed, dotted every I on the paperwork, even landscaped around it to keep the HOA happy. I figured with the right permits and a row of evergreens, I could ride out anything. As the storm bore down, I did my usual prep: bathtubs full of water, every battery-charged fridge and pantry-stocked dog sprawled by the fire like none of it mattered. By Thursday morning, the world outside looked like a chandelier factory exploded. The air was sharp and brittle. Power lines hung heavy in low trees, splitting under the weight of all that crystal. Right on cue, the lights died in the middle of a Zoom call. 5 seconds of silence, then my generator thumped to life. The house hummed awake and Wi-Fi blinked back online. I could barely hear the thing from inside, but outside, sure, it had a presence, maybe as loud as a mower on a sleepy Saturday, but no worse. My workday rolled on, warm and well lit, even as the world froze around me. By midday, I figured it was neighborly to check in. My boots crunched through ice, and the silence was so complete it almost rang in my ears. Gary Brennan. Next door, a pilot, grounded and grumpy, was nursing a dead coffee maker and a phone at 3%. I offered him heat power and caffeine. Down the street, the elderly couple had bags packed ready to escape to their daughter's place. Seemed like everyone was either hunkering down or getting out. But peace in Oak Ridge Estates doesn't last long. Just as I sat down to work, a shadow crossed my frosted porch. Patricia Cunningham. If there's a patron saint of not in my neighborhood, Patricia is it. 50-something Escalade idling in the drive, every inch of her curated for authority, right down to that I mean business haircut. "Brian," she announced, wrapped in more North Face than an Everest expedition, "we need to talk about your generator. It's extremely loud and disturbing." The piece, she said, as if the storm itself had nothing on my generator. I looked out at the street, a wasteland of ice silence and empty houses. "Patricia, the whole block is dark. I think peace left a while ago." But Patricia didn't let facts get in the way. She pulled out her phone, started reciting bylaws: noise, quiet, enjoyment, mechanical equipment, all that jazz. I reminded her it was an emergency, that I had every permit, every shrub, every approval she ever asked for. But Patricia was on a mission. "I'm ordering you to cease operation of that generator immediately," she said, like the Queen of Winter herself. $500 a day in fines if you refuse. Legal action if you keep defying me. I stood there, cold air stinging my face, wondering how many ways one conversation could go off the rails. "Do what you have to do," I told her, "but I'm not shutting it off." And just like that, lines were drawn. In the time it took for her to stomp back to her SUV, the HOA war was on. Trouble doesn't wait for the weather to warm up. News spread fast. By sunset, Gary was at my door with Jennifer from 2 houses down and Tom from the corner. Tom's a retired fire chief and doesn't bother with small talk. "She wanted us to fine you," he said flatly. "But there's no way that generator's breaking any rule that matters. It's an emergency, for crying out loud." Jennifer rolled her eyes. "She says you're setting a bad example," as if anyone's going to buy a generator just to annoy her. But Patricia wasn't finished. That night, while I was scraping dinner together, someone crept up and messed with my generator. Maintenance panel popped open, footprints in the snow. Someone tried to kill my power and gave up. My security cameras caught it all. Patricia at the crack of dawn, shivering and poking at wires like she was disarming a bomb. By now, enough was enough. I called the police, filed a report, sent footage to my lawyer Marcus, who whipped up a cease and desist letter before I'd finished my morning coffee. Patricia replied with a mass email calling me selfish, accusing my generator of being a public menace and threatening to fine anyone who supported me. If her goal was to rally the neighborhood, she failed spectacularly. People started pushing back. Tom, Jennifer, even folks I'd never spoken to, all told her to stand down. Then came the twist. See, most houses in Oak Ridge estates rely on sump pumps to keep basements dry, especially those near the drainage creek. Tom explained if my generator goes off, my sump pump stops. That affects the whole drainage system, including, you guessed it, Patricia's house. Suddenly, the guy with the noisy generator wasn't just keeping his own lights on, he was holding back the floodwaters for half the street. Patricia, still determined to prove a point, hired a noise consultant. Poor guy lasted all of 10 minutes before confirming my generator was well within city limits. She fired him on the spot and doubled down. That night, my house was pelted with frozen egg snails scattered on my driveway. Selfish sprayed across my mailbox. Security cams, again her teenage son Trevor doing the dirty work. That was the final straw. So I did exactly what Patricia wanted. I shut down the generator, killed the power, drained the pipes, packed my things, and took my dog to a hotel in Springfield. Before I left, I sent an email to the HOA Pier President Cunningham's demand my generator is off. Just a heads up, no sump pump, so the drainage might get interesting. The dominoes fell fast. Within 24 hours, flooded basements. Patricia's, among others, pleas for generators started flooding the neighborhood chat. Tom broke down for everyone how shutting off my generator was exactly what Patricia had demanded. Suddenly, the only thing spreading faster than water was anger aimed directly at her. By Monday, the police had time for my case. Video evidence of trespassing, vandalism, attempted sabotage, pretty straightforward, as the officer said. Trevor, her son, would answer for the mailbox. Patricia for everything else. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, biggest turnout in memory. Patricia went on and on about the rules, but Tom and Jennifer brought receipts, flooded basements, damaged furnaces, emails, videos. The vote wasn't close. Patricia was out. Tom took over. Fines against me gone. New rules voted in to prevent another dictatorship, plus explicit protections for emergency equipment. I came home, restarted my generator. Within hours, the sump pump did its job and neighbors brought apologies, bourbon, and cookies. Even those whose homes took on water didn't blame me. They'd seen the emails, knew who called for the shutdown. Patricia tried to fight back. Lawsuits, complaints, even a wild claim that I'd flooded her basement on purpose. The judge dismissed it with prejudice, and her lawyer got an earful for wasting the court's time. Insurance refused her claim. The state fined her for misusing HOA funds. By spring, her family sold the house at a loss and left town. Funny thing is, in the aftermath, the neighborhood pulled together. New board, new bylaws, Tom organizing cleanup days and block parties. Folks started talking to each other. More people bought generators. Next blackout 5 kicked on at once, and nobody so much as blinked at the noise. Looking back, I'm struck by how quickly good intentions can go sour when mixed with ego. Patricia couldn't stand not being in control. She'd rather sink the whole ship than let someone else steer for 5 minutes. That week, the real disaster wasn't the ice, it was what people did to each other under pressure. But here's the thing, sometimes the best way to deal with someone like that isn't to fight or argue, it's to give them exactly what they demand and let the consequences play out for everyone to see. And when the smoke clears, you find out who's really got your back. The stories become neighborhood legend now. New families moving in get the short version, how one generator changed everything. I kept all the paperwork, all the footage. It's a reminder that standing up for yourself sometimes means standing alone for a little while, but you'll sleep better for it. 8 months after the storm, I watched a new family move into Patricia's old place. Young couple, little kids, the whole picture. They asked about generators and I gave them the rundown. No drama, just the facts. The kind of neighbors I'd hoped for all along. Last loose end. Patricia tried to appeal. Her lawsuit lost again, and the decision ended up setting a small precedent for Missouri HOAs don't get to play dictator during emergencies. And what did I learn? That there's a world of difference between rules that serve a community and rules that serve someone's ego. That preparation isn't paranoia. And that sometimes the only way to reveal the real threat to a neighborhood is to let someone write their own undoing, one email at a time. So now the generator does its weekly test, just as steady and reliable as ever. I hear it and think about that stormy week, about independence, about doing the right thing, and about how a little backbone can change everything. Oak Ridge Estates is better now. We watch out for each other, not just our lawns. And in the end, justice landed right where it belonged. The ice melted, the lights came back, and the loudest thing left in the neighborhood these days is the sound of neighbors laughing at block parties instead of fighting over bylaws. So here's the real question. Where do you draw the line between following the rules and standing up for what's right? When is it okay to push back, and when do you let things run their course? Ever had to deal with power gone wrong in your own life? I want to hear your story. Tell me in the comments. Where's the line between order and overreach? And what's your best moment of karma justice or standing up for what matters?